I have kind of an interesting history with the Lexus LS. I've always loved these cars. When they first came out, I loved just how long and like brick-like they were, just the sleek rectangular shape that they had. And I always just thought they looked cool. They were just like very simple. I remember the advertisements of them putting a champagne glass on the engine and they'd start it up and it wouldn't even shake the glass. It was just so cool. I remember those things. And one of my good friends and neighbors actually owned one of the very early, not the LS 400, but the LS 430. And I remember even as like a younger kid, I was like probably like 14, 12, 14 in there, going for a ride when he first got it. And it made such an impression on me as a young kid because it was so smooth and so quiet. And the power from that V8 was like so just silky and beautiful. I've always loved it since then. And I actually was so close to buying an old like 90s LS 400 several times because I just think they're so cool. So I was definitely excited to get into the LS 500 and I think it carries on that legacy in some very interesting ways and I think it changes the game in some interesting ways as well. So let me show you around. I'll show you the exterior, the interior. We'll go for a drive with my wife and she was able to have some time with this car as well. And we'll both give you some driving impressions on what this thing's like to own. All right, so here's the 2023 Lexus LS 500. And as you can see, if you're interested in a flagship sedan from a luxury automaker, the LS is definitely not one of the more conservatively styled sedans. It's pretty bold. There's a lot of like bold lines. The grille is huge. It's long. There's lots of swooping design elements to it. Certainly compared to like the S-Class, for example, this feels much more outgoing, I guess. I think if you're into the Lexus styling, you'll really like what they've done here. It's a very large car and that hood is long and it's got plenty of room for its twin turbo V6, which we've really grown to love. So let's show you the interior and then we'll go for a drive. All right, so coming into the Lexus LS 500 F Sport. As you can see, lots of similar design language that's present in other Lexus products. This being kind of the flagship sedan though, you kind of get a little bit of everything to the max. I mean, you've got so many different materials, the suede, metal, leather, plastic, red leather, black leather, red stitching, white stitching, suede, ventilated, perforated seats. You've got really just about everything. It's a very busy interior. Now coming in, these seats are pretty comfortable. They are more narrow than I was expecting. They kind of come to like a pinch almost in the rear, which it's not uncomfortable, but these are not nearly as like large and accommodating as the S-Class seats, for example, or even the new Genesis G90. But you can see they're just more, it's just very bold. I mean, they really went for it. This is not your conservative LS of the 90s and 2000s. This is, let's just throw everything we've got and making it interesting and unique and see if it works. And that's what Lexus has done here. But by far, let me close this and I'll start it up for you. Start button's here. It's not here. I actually pressed this once thinking it was a start button because I wasn't looking. Here's your start button. Start it up. There you go. You have that plastic, you know, circle there, but the rest of it is digital. It's a smallish display, but the weirdest thing is right here. This is very strange. The drive modes are like this dial you like have to reach up and like twist. Really, really strange. It's kind of inconvenient, to be honest. Here you have this dial over here, and the whole thing, this whole like hood causes it to protrude because you've got the dials up there. It protrudes several inches up from where it kind of really just needs to be. You can see the rest of the dash there, and it's kind of does protrude into your vision. Like not a lot, but it does. Coming over to the center, you have, you know, the typical nice updated Lexus infotainment screen. And what's interesting though, and it works well, it works well, it's a great upgrade, so much better than it used to be. Still the analog clock, which is also an interesting thing they keep holding on to. But you do have some buttons, like you've got your temperature, which is really cool. It's like this little dial you can just do that with. Your airflow, But you don't have all the controls. Like you've got defrost, but you don't have like the direction changes. You have to go into the screen for that. So it's not the simplest thing to use. I mean, I'm grateful there's some buttons, but you still have to go into the menus for others. Other things to note, you still have a lot of piano glass, which you can see, or piano black. It just gets smudgy and it's kind of scratched, and I wish we just go away. I mean, it looks amazing when it's brand new, but after like 20 seconds of ownership, it just doesn't look the same. Small cup holders, they don't fit a ton of huge cups, which I like to have. And then you also have to kind of reach pretty far over. Like here I am, I'm like reaching my arm to get my drink if it's over there. This just feels kind of like a bunch of wasted space, to be honest with you. And then if you think that there is more space in here, well, not really. You do have this right here to slide your phone down in, which is kind of cool, but that cubby is not very accommodating. Other than that, you have small door pockets, no bottle holder, and that's about it for storage. So you have this huge car, but I'll be honest, an interior that doesn't feel all that more roomy than even like my Mazda 3 Turbo that I used to own. Coming into the rear here and sitting down behind myself, I've got tons of space. It's great, like tons of footroom. The seat does go pretty low, so I can't really tuck my feet under there as I could in other, luxury sedans. But you have your nice vents back here, charging ports. You have your mirrors, of course, got to have the mirrors. Speakers, your other moonroof back here, your sway. It's nice and it is spacious. This hump is enormous, and so this really is more of a 4-seater than a 5-seater, so just keep that in mind. And then here is your view from the back with that dash and those seats. Again, overall, it's a huge car, but it's just feeling a little smaller to me than you might expect. All right, so starting off in the 2023 Lexus LS 500, I've got my wife here, and she was able to spend some time with the car.
I was.
Yeah.
Yes. My experience was similar to yours, where initially I did not like this car. I'll just be honest. I didn't like it because I climbed in and I thought the cabin is a little bit funky. There were a few quirks that weren't my favorite. I'll just list them right off, shall I?
Yeah, go ahead. Just go for it.
Just because this is going to end on a high note, because, spoiler, we loved the car after a week with it. But the first impression was not amazing, just because when I climbed in, I was like, where do I put my stuff? Because we only have 2 small cup holders in the middle and a little small pocket in the side, on the doors on the side. And there's not even like a cup holder in the door, which I thought was odd.
Yeah, it is weird. Like I don't know. It's been a long time since I haven't seen a cup holder, a bottle holder in the door.
Something like that. I know. So I thought that omission was interesting. And then like there's a few other just kind of funky things. Funky was the word that just came to mind initially when
it is
climbing
funky.
in here.
Yeah.
You can probably show some B-roll of this or something, but there's up on the top of the dash in front of the driver, there's the knobs to change the driving modes, and it's almost like it wants to be a motorcycle the way that it's set up. So I told Jason it kind of looked like Frankenstein bolts just up there creating this big hump right in front of your view. So and I kind of had to like reach to get them while I'm driving. So I don't know. I'm listing all the bad stuff first, because again, remember, it gets better. But one other thing, tell them about the air.
Yeah, I feel like the air conditioning in general isn't super powerful, but it hasn't been super hot either. So we're trying to figure that out. But the ventilated seats, they're okay, but they are pretty loud. They're louder than they are cool.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like the ventilated seats in our Telluride are a lot cooler, like temperature-wise,
yes.
than the ones in this one, where I sometimes have to turn down the cold, like the notches of the cold on our seats in the Telluride. And on this one, I kept checking it to make sure, like, is it on full blast? Because I couldn't even tell, other than like a slight little breeze on my back,
Yeah.
I really couldn't feel the cold coming from it.
Yep, I agree.
And then when I was filming something earlier in the car, I turned off the air conditioning so that it wouldn't be noisy. And it was still really loud, and I couldn't figure out, why is there still air flowing? I turned off the air. And it was because the ventilated seats were on, so they make a lot of sound, but it wasn't that cold.
Yep.
And then the other thing about the air that I thought you would bring up was as far as controlling
Oh,
air
yeah.
conditioning. You
Yeah.
tell them that?
Well, yeah, I mentioned this when I showed you the interior, but just to reiterate, you can control the temperature, you can control the airflow, but you cannot change the direction from these buttons. You can put it on the front defrost, obviously, and change if it's recirculated, but again, you can't change it from your head to your feet or a mixture. You have to go into the menu to do that on the screen, which is just kind of a pain.
Yeah. But those were the main things. I mean, just not having somewhere to put my stuff unless I open up the middle armrest here. This is a cool feature is you can open it. I don't know if you can. You
On
can't
either
see from our
side,
angle, but
yeah.
you can open it from either side. You can open it here. He can open it on his side. So that was kind of cool.
It's kind of small though at the
It's a
same
little
time. You can
small.
put stuff in there, but it's not like cavernous as you might see in some other vehicles.
Yeah. But then, that just got me thinking, like, who is the ideal buyer for this car then? Because clearly Lexus didn't make this with the idea that a mom was going to be able to have somewhere for the diaper bag or
Right,
something.
right.
And whoever's driving this probably, I don't know, they're not toting around a whole
You need
bunch
a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
You need a wallet, coin purse, I don't know.
Right, yeah. And they only have a small space and they're kind of smaller cup holders too. They're
Yeah.
smaller than what we've seen. But as far as who this car is for, I think anybody that wants kind of a more luxurious sedan that can also double as like a sporty supercar
Yeah.
is gonna love this car.
Yeah, I think that's really where this gets its strength because, I mean, you spend even just like 2 minutes in it, it's just, you're gonna see that it's just not and it's not the same price either. Let's get that straight. It's just, this is about $90,000, just under. And so it does undercut some things like the S-Class, the G90. It's all kind of right there. But I totally agree with Allie's assessment in that this is a very comfortable luxury cruiser with Toyota's build quality, which everybody loves, and we hope will continue with these newer turbocharged engines. So it's all of that, and you can haul 4 adults very comfortably in here. But then the great secret about, and I don't know if people are actually going to believe this when we say it, but
I was shocked by it.
yeah, the great secret of this car is Sport Plus mode. Like,
Yes.
It's awesome. It's crazy how much it wakes up this car. Like, I was telling Allie yesterday, just like, we've driven a lot of cars, and every car now has a sport mode besides like that G90 that we had. But you throw it into sport mode and it's like, okay, like it maybe makes it a little more responsive in the throttle. No, Sport Plus mode in this thing completely transforms the whole car.
Yeah, well, remember I texted you yesterday
Yeah.
because I realized most of my driving with this car over the last week, most of my driving at any time, is just around town, super close by. I don't really have a need to get on the freeway unless I decide to go somewhere that's far away.
Yeah, right.
And so I hadn't driven it on the freeway yet as of yesterday. And so I just made it a point. I had my daughter in the back, and we were driving out to Salt Lake, kind of farther away, and I was like, I'm gonna go on the freeway and I'm gonna test out the sport modes, because there's 2. There's the regular Sport S mode, and then there's the Sport S Plus mode.
Right.
And yeah, when you're driving around town, yeah, there we go. can kind of hear it. It's a little less noticeable unless you get to really crank it. Oh look,
There's another one. It's
That was
exact
a twin.
same.
There's a twin of this one.
The twin. That's crazy.
That never happens.
Of all the gin joints. Wow. Wow.
Anyway, I tatted on the freeway, and as I'm accelerating and that's something that I've always known about this car, at least I could say, is that it's very smooth and it's got a good powerful engine. How many horsepower? 400?
I think it's 416.
416 horsepower. And so it gets around, really. But when I put it into Sport Plus mode, first of all, you heard the engine. It changes from that regular sound to suddenly this deeper, throatier growl, which we've come to find out is a fake sound. It's not the actual
Yeah, it's
engine.
piped in, but it does sound good.
It sounds really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that sound is really cool. There we go.
There it is again, if you can hear it.
But it's also, you feel that difference. Like the car, it really does feel like you have, it's almost, I likened it to kind of like a Clark Kent / Superman type of a thing.
Yeah,
where
yeah, totally.
First it's mild-mannered, driving around town. It's comfortable luxury mode with the glasses on.
Right, right.
And then you put it in the Sport Plus mode, and then it's like, whoop, opening up the Superman suit, and it just flies. It just takes off. And I loved it. And I've never been the type of person that's like really been tempted to drive around like a maniac, you know, like weaving in and out of people and being reckless. But driving this car on the freeway yesterday, I found myself being very impatient to like get a chance to whip it around and like see how quickly I could go in and out of places. So it almost got me into some trouble because you can go way over the speed limit in the blink of an eye in this thing and not even feel it because it's so speedy. But I loved it so much that I couldn't wait to get back on the freeway when we drove home to test it out again. But I immediately texted Jason while he was at work, and I'm like, I get it now.
Yeah.
Like love Sport Plus mode transforms this car. It feels like you're driving. So it almost feels like this is a 2-in-1 type of a car.
Wow. It's genuinely fun to drive.
It is
Which
fun.
is crazy to say. This is an enormous luxury sedan.
Yeah. It's like something that I would picture maybe somebody, a middle-aged businessman driving around, but then it's like it roars to life so fast that I'm like, oh, I want to drive this.
Yeah.
So I'm sad that we have to hand over the keys today.
I'm too, and I would have not. When I first drove this, like, hate's too strong of a word, but I just didn't get it. Like Allie said, I was like, I don't know what this car is. Like, it's just $90,000. What? But like, it really does. It transforms the throttle response, the Sport Plus. It transforms the engine note, which is, it's piped in, but it's still, it sounds good. I don't care. And the steering, the suspension, it dials it in, and it makes it drive a lot smaller than it actually is. And man, it's just fun. But it really speaks to, I gotta say this, because I'm not sure if this is the exact same engine that's like found in the non-hybrid Tundra, for example, or in the LX 600, it might be. But and in the Sequoia, but that one's the hybrid version, but still similar. Regardless, Toyota, fingers crossed they stay as reliable as they have been. But all of the new powertrains that we've driven in Toyota and Lexus products, while there might be some other weaknesses with those vehicles, every vehicle has them, we have pretty much unequivocally loved all of those powertrains.
Yeah.
The Sequoia was awesome. The LX was awesome. Even the little turbocharged, I think it was a little turbocharged 4-cylinder, the one that's rumored to be in the new Tacoma, that was in the NX 350, I think it was really fun. Like, it feels torquey. And so it sounds crazy to say, but this is truly a car where the Sport Plus mode makes you feel like you kind of got two cars in one.
Yeah,
definitely. And where that $90,000 price tag, while still, yes, very expensive, like Allie said, she nailed it. It just starts to make sense. It's like, oh, I get it now. It's the luxury cruiser. It's so comfortable, economical. There's quirks. I mean, these dials up here in this hood dome thing is, or not hood, but dash dome thing is strange. But it's awesome. Like, I really do like this car.
Well, yeah, and I feel like it's easy to nitpick, like you said, on the little quirks and oddities and the things that I do think it should have more cup holders.
Yeah.
I do think there should be more accessible storage space. That would be an easy addition to make it even better in here.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like, the number one most important thing to anyone that's driving a car is, how does it feel when you're driving?
The experience.
The experience of actually driving and doing its job.
Yep.
And this car does its job really well.
Yeah. Pretty much does 2 jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, thanks for watching, guys. We hope this helps, like, anybody that's in the luxury sedan market, you know, especially for a big flagship sedan. I've said this in the Mercedes review, in the Genesis G90 review, and I'll say it here. This is coming from someone who has a soft spot for these big luxury sedans. I love them. In fact, between that LS and my old boss's S600 V12 twin turbo that I've waxed on before about, those cars really had an impact on my car enthusiasm as a kid, as a teenager. Enthusiasm. And so I like these cars, and I think it's cool to see what Lexus has done to not fully let go of the past, but to kind of look forward and make it their own thing now. Like, they're not trying to be anybody else, which I think is very cool, and I think it'll really appeal to a lot of buyers. Obviously, we just saw this exact car, so it's already working, I guess.
Yeah,
but
that was funny.
Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you on the next video.